And then I went and met with my bio prof because I don't see the point of that class. And I basically went to him and was like, "Hi, Professor, so I'm just wondering, what is the point of your class?" I'm getting to that point where I'm studying for finals and I just feel like I'm dying every second. I look so tired. Like, do you see my under eye circles? Like, they're getting out of control. Whenever I'm studying, all I can think of is things that I would rather be doing. You know, when you go and take your headphones out of your pocket or your backpack or whatever, and they're in this impossible knot and it takes you like 10 minutes to untangle them? Yeah, that's my current state of mind. I just spent the whole day like studying, but not even in a productive way. Like, I was just frustrated the whole time and I was like, yeah, I was not in a good state. I just finished my last final of the semester. Yes! Oh my god, I thought this day would never come. Nope, don't miss that. Hey everyone, welcome back. Happy September. I know some of you might be starting university or college right now, so I thought that now would be a good time for me to sit down and share with you guys some things that I wish I knew before starting university. And just as some context, I graduated in June of 2017 from McGill University, which is in Montreal, with a Bachelor of Science in Physiology. And I think anybody starting university could get some value out of this video, but especially if you're thinking of going into STEM, I think this video would be especially valuable for you. So if that's you, make sure you stick around to the end of this video. And I also want to note that I did go to school back in the day in the pre-COVID era, so I'm sure that things look a little bit different now, but I think that most of the stuff I'm about to tell you guys still applies, and maybe even will apply even more, who knows. Your grades do not matter. I failed linear algebra in second year, and guess what? My life's still great. When I was going into first year, I had this idea that as long as I studied really hard and got good grades and got that degree, then I would be set for life. Like, life would just be smooth sailing after that and I could get any job I wanted. Oh boy, was I ever naive. Unless you're thinking of going to grad school or med school or law school, your grades will not matter after you graduate. Most employers don't give a flip if you ace that really hard cell bio class or even if you had a 4.0 GPA. What they're gonna care about is your work experience and how you interview. You could have the perfect grades, but if you don't have any practical work experience or if you don't know how to talk to people, your perfect grades aren't going to make up for that. And even if you are thinking of going to grad school, yeah, sure, having a 4.0 GPA will help you, but if you don't have any work experience or extracurriculars to go along with that, you're probably not going to be a very strong candidate. So the reason I'm sharing this with you guys is not to scare you, but I actually have two reasons. So number one, I encourage you to start getting work experience as soon as possible. Make use of your school's programs and resources that connect students to summer internships. Or another option is you can email the profs whose classes that you enjoy or that you did well in and ask them if they're looking for an undergrad research assistant. Whatever route you choose to go to, I do recommend that you get it started pretty early, like earlier than you would think. So I don't know how it works in your country, but in Canada, the school year ends in April for university students, and people would start looking for summer internships in January. So I would recommend getting on that as soon as you can. And second, I hope that by you guys hearing from someone who has made it to the other side that your grades do not matter after you graduate, that you will stop stressing about your grades. It's not worth it. Obviously, don't go failing out of your classes. Like, still do your best to learn as much as you can and get as much out of that tuition money as you can. But if you don't do as well on a test or a paper as you would have liked to, it's not the end of the world. Life goes on. You will be okay. I promise. Study what you really want to study. If I could change one decision I made when I was in university, it would have been to study what I actually wanted to study and not just what I thought would lead to a stable career. So I ended up studying physiology, but what I actually wanted to study was psychology. And now I don't believe in regrets, and I do think that everything is happening for a reason and for a greater good and all of that. And I don't regret my decision to study physiology, but I do think that if I studied what I actually wanted to study, I would have gotten so much more out of my tuition money. And if you're in the same position now that I was in when I was choosing my major, and you might be scared to choose to study something that you know you'd love but may or may not lead to a stable career, know that your major doesn't really matter that much after you graduate. I know in university they make it seem like this major leads to these types of careers and this major leads to these types of careers, but really there is no set path. You're able to choose and build your own career path, and you can make it into whatever you want it to be regardless of what you studied in school. So might as well study something that you're actually interested in, because that's what's going to benefit your career the most, not studying what you think you should study. The purpose of university isn't to prepare you for a job, it's to train you in a way of thinking. Now, I know there are some exceptions to this rule, like if you were in a professional degree, like nursing or social work, but for the most part, classes at the undergrad level are still pretty generalized, and having a bachelor's degree doesn't necessarily guarantee that you will have a job after you graduate. Maybe it did 40 years ago, but this is no longer the case today. Some jobs may require a university degree, and maybe having a university degree would make you a stronger candidate, but this isn't a hard rule. When I was in university, I thought that getting a degree was a means to an end. Like, once I graduated with my degree, then I would arrive at my desired destination, aka a stable job in my field of study that also gave me a sense of purpose. But then once I actually graduated with my Bachelor of Science, I looked at that paper that I worked so freaking hard for, and I was like, cool. So all this really qualifies me for is to work as a lab tech and pipette stuff all day and make minimum wage doing that. Not exactly what I would call my life's purpose. And I'm not gonna lie, this was a hella anticlimactic moment, and I was honestly pretty discouraged. Like, did I really just work my butt off to get somewhere that I don't even want to be? Did I really just waste all of that time, energy, and emotional pain and money? But looking back now, after having 3 years of life experience after school, I've realized that the real value I got out of my degree wasn't the jobs that it qualified me for, but that it taught me to be a critical thinker. So I have a very sciencey, analytical brain, and I've been trained to fact check and do research and find evidence before I consider something to be a fact. So if someone were to tell me something really random, like watching movies makes you smarter, you best believe I'm gonna be on Google Scholar looking for those peer-reviewed, randomized control studies. And this might just be a me thing, but I also like to research whether taking certain vitamins will actually have any benefit for your health, or whether a certain skincare ingredient is actually effective or not before I splurge on a product. So I always come from a place of evidence, and that helps me to save time and money doing things that may or may not be legit. So now when I look at my degree from this perspective, that it taught me to be a more critical thinker and not just take everything at face value, I don't see my degree as a waste. Not at all, especially now since I'm not doing something that's directly related to my degree, which is not uncommon, by the way. A lot of people end up doing things after school that aren't related to their degree. And no matter what you end up doing after school, your degree will still really benefit you because it taught you to be a better thinker. And this is the real value I got out of my degree, not knowing all the steps in the Krebs cycle. Stop comparing yourself to other people. When I was at McGill, it was ranked the top university in Canada and something like the 18th best university in the world. Actually, I don't know what the rank is now. Wait, let's check. McGill University ranking 31st. Anyway, when I was there, it was known as the Harvard of Canada. So needless to say, I was constantly surrounded by a sea of smart people, and I literally felt so dumb compared to them. And honestly, I would question at least like 3 times a day, how the heck did I get into this school? And eventually I started to believe that I was objectively dumb. But then one day, maybe in my last year, I realized, wait, the only reason why I feel this way is because I am in a very unique environment of all smart young people. I'm only average at best compared to them, but compared to the general public, I'm still probably considered above average in intelligence. And if I could go back to that younger version of myself that was freaking out because she thought she was dumb, I would tell her to stop wasting your energy comparing yourself to other people. I know this is cheesy, but comparison really is the thief of joy. And that energy that you're using to compare yourself to other people and feel bad can be used towards growing and becoming a better person and doing things like reflecting, learning, making friends. So yeah, stop comparing yourself to other people. Start investing that energy back into you. Stop chasing perfection. It doesn't exist. I felt like in high school it was possible to get 100% on a test if you study the material really well, but in university, getting 100% is pretty much unheard of. But of course, I didn't realize this because my brain was still in high school study mode, and I remember stressing so much about having to learn everything perfectly and reading my textbooks from cover to cover because that's what I thought would get me good grades. But then eventually I realized that if I attempted to do this, I would drive myself crazy. That's just completely impossible, especially in a hard science, just an insane amount of memorizing. So instead of focusing on being perfect, focus on studying smart, not studying hard. And what I mean by this is focus mainly on studying what you need to know for an exam and don't worry too much about the rest, and find ways of studying that'll allow you to absorb the most information in the least amount of time. And you can Google or YouTube how to study effectively, and there is a ton of information out there on this that I wish I knew about when I was in university. So I would recommend getting on that as soon as possible because it's gonna save you so much time and mental agony. Learning about what you don't like is as important as learning about what you do like. If I'm gonna be completely honest, I didn't enjoy what I was studying. I only chose to study physiology because I wanted a job in healthcare and I thought that studying physiology would help me to get there. But once I got further and further along in my major, I realized that 99% of people in my major either went into med school or went into research. And I had known for a long time that med school wasn't for me, but I had never tried research before, so I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. So I got a position as an undergrad research assistant in a science lab, and I hated it. And when I was in that job, I thought I was wasting my time. But looking back on it now, I don't regret taking that job at all because I learned so much about careers in my major. And if I didn't learn at that point, maybe I would have learned years down the line. So really, I was saving a lot of time by learning early that that job wasn't for me. So if you find yourself in a similar situation that I was in and you're just hating what you do, know that you are not wasting your time. You are learning something really important about yourself, and no experience is wasted. Everything helps you to get you closer to what you're actually meant to do, and by learning what you don't like, you can eliminate that out of your life and make room for something that is going to be a good fit for you. Stop trying to make your 10-year or 5-year or even 1-year plan. My main source of stress in school wasn't passing my midterms, it was figuring out what the hell to do with my life. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life or my career, and it stressed me the fuck out. And when I did try to picture my life after graduating, all I saw was just blankness, and that caused me massive amounts of anxiety. And I thought that what would make that anxiety go away was if I sat down and created a 5-year plan, because then at least I would have some sort of roadmap to follow. But when I did sit down to make that 5-year plan, it made me even more anxious because I didn't know what to put on it. And guess what? It's 5 years later and I still don't know what I'm doing. And that's actually what I find so fun about life. And if I could go back in time 5 years and talk to that 20-year-old version of me, that's what I would tell her. I'd be like, hey girl, I'm you in 5 years, and guess what? I still don't have it all figured out. I do have some more direction and I have some ideas of what I think I'd like to do, but I'm open to that changing because I've learned that I'm not married to any single path just because I've taken a few steps down it. And that's the best part of life. I've stopped stressing about being clueless about what to do with my life, and I've started telling myself that I'm excited to fill in the pieces. I feel like I would have calmed down a lot if I heard that. And I'm on a career trajectory now that I never would have thought I'd be on. Like, if someone were to tell my 20-year-old self that in 5 years I'd be a coach, an entrepreneur, and making videos on YouTube, I would have thought it was a joke. And I can't remember where I heard this quote, but it stuck with me for years, and it goes, "Nothing will ruin your 20s more than thinking that you have to have everything figured out." You're not supposed to have everything figured out in university. You can't sit down and force yourself to make your 5-year plan. That's just not how it works. You figure out your plan as you go along, as you gain more life experience, and you learn about what you do like, what you don't like, what you stand for, what your values are, and that only happens with time. So stop trying to force it and trust that it will happen. And it'll be a fun ride. Don't be afraid to ask for help. So besides the obvious global health pandemic going on, one could also argue that there is a global mental health pandemic going on campuses. There are articles upon articles of rising rates of mental health problems amongst students, and to be honest, these stats don't surprise me. University can be an extremely overwhelming time, and it'll probably be some of the best times of your life, but it'll probably also be some of the worst. So if you find yourself feeling low or anxious, or even worse, please ask for help. Seeing a mental health professional is one of the best things you can do for yourself. And I know that a lot of campuses now are stepping up their game with their mental health and wellness initiatives, so I highly recommend that you make use of that. But I also know that a lot of schools do have ridiculously long wait lists for their mental health services. So if you do have the means to seek out private therapy, maybe on your parents' insurance through work, or I know a lot of therapists offer discounted rates for students, I would definitely recommend exploring your options and see what would work best for you. And people won't judge you nearly as hard as you think they will for struggling or seeking help. Trust me, your mental health is everything. Don't neglect it. Be open to talking to everyone. It is so easy to make friends in university, and you won't really realize how easy it is until you're not in university anymore. No one tells you how hard it is to make friends after university. And when you're in school, that's one of the only environments you'll be in where you're surrounded mostly by people your age that you see every day. In your classes, in your residence, in your cafeteria. There are so many clubs for you to join, so many social events for you to go to. You are literally surrounded by endless opportunities to make friends and meet awesome people. So definitely make use of those opportunities while you have them. And don't be like me where you're just sitting there waiting for someone to become friends with you. Actually go out there and be the one to talk to someone first. Create those opportunities for yourself, because you never know, the next person you talk to could become your friend for life. The most valuable thing that you're gonna leave university with is not your degree, it's the connections that you made. In the real world, your greatest asset isn't going to be your degree, it's going to be the people that you know, because the people that you know will get you further in life than any degree ever could. I know that most people say that our most valuable resource is time, and I do agree, but I think a very close second to that is our connections. So when you're in university, talk to as many people as you can, even the people that you normally wouldn't think you could become friends with. And you know where you're going to learn the most in university? Nope, it's not your classrooms. It's in becoming friends with people and getting to know people. In fact, that's probably lesson 9.5. You're gonna learn the most in your relationships, not in your classrooms. And finally, enjoy it. This is probably gonna be one of the last times in your life where your schedule is made for you, where you have all the steps laid out for you, showing you how you can be successful. And honestly, I do miss that kind of structure sometimes. You're gonna have so many opportunities to meet so many awesome people, and some of the people that you meet will probably become your best friends for life. And really, the opportunity to learn and expand your mind at the university level really isn't something to take for granted. There are so many things about university that make it such a unique and special time in your life, so while you're there, enjoy it. In fact, if I could go back to my university self and tell myself only one thing, it would be to stop worrying so much and just enjoy it. So those are 10 things that I wish I knew before I started university. Let me know in the comments what advice you'd give to someone starting university, or if you are starting university, say hi in the comments, leave me a hand raising emoji. And if you are starting university this year, or if you're going back to university, I wish you the best of luck. Have so much fun, and you got this. Thank you so much for watching. Happy school year, and as always, stay healthy and stay safe. Bye.